And welcome back to episode 185 of Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Karl.
Oh, well, Karl, back to normal reality after a week in the Middle East. I've been over in Jitex in Dubai.
Sunning yourself by the pool, lots of drinks, it's a
yeah,
hard
of
life.
Course. It is hard life. I mean, I can't argue with sunning myself, piece. Sweating like
God, yes.
sweating like a proverbial pig. Maybe the better way to describe it. It was super hot, close to 40
Tad warmer than here, then, yeah.
Tad warmer each day, and wearing a jacket, sort of formal jacket, chinos to shirts. Some people wearing suits. It was very, very sweaty, my friend.
So you are in formal wear at an event, and it was what, 30 plus, was it?
Yeah, that indoors as well. Pretty much.
I was at an event in London, and I walked out to go to it, and it was misty, and I couldn't even see the top of the skyscrapers.
Definitely didn't have that problem. Definitely didn't have that problem. Visibility of an issue of a different kind.
I was like, I should have brought another coat with me.
But what I will say though is, walking around those halls, everything AI is just, it really has got to the point now. If you slap AI on your marketing, people will come.
Every session at the event I was on had AI in it.
And not just walking around the halls, and Jitex, if people have never been, is it's like the largest tech show in the Middle East. There's like security, there's AI, there's cloud. There's also halls that are selling weird Chinese tech.
Oh, it's a bit like C-bit on the end as well, then.
Yeah, basically like ATM machines plus all the regional big names you can imagine. Including all the usual suspects, Microsoft and Google and everybody else, AWS, etc. And it's just a huge show, and kind of each day you're walking like 10 miles, it feels, around the halls. It's just absurd. Some of the stuff, I walked through one hall to get out to an exit, and I think it was like the Chinese tech hall where you could buy everything from just like robots to like the Boston Dynamics style dogs.
Get some robotic dog.
There were people selling like the the ordering systems you get at McDonald's. It's crazy tech. China's leading technical China's leading technical security company, one of them. It was just bonkers. Just absolutely. So look, it is what it is. But it was a great show, and it was we were out there for a company formal reason. And it was just good to be out somewhere different, away from the winter blues here. But yeah, I know what you mean. Misty. Yeah. Anyway, right, this week then, let's crack on with this week's podcast. We have got a bit of mixed lineup. We're going to talk games. We got Flight Sim 2024. We got Elon Musk again. Everybody likes a little bit of Musk. We're going to talk Apple and the new iPad mini launch, which again was how we suspected. We reckoned it was going to be a PR launch, didn't we?
Yeah.
And they have dropped it. We've also got Qualcomm and it's bad news for Qualcomm if you're a developer, I suppose. And then the Tech Rant Rumor Mill is back with the Apple Vision Pro. I don't know what we're going to call it. Light? Maybe we'll see. We'll talk about that in a few minutes' time. But let's kick off then with Flight Sim 2024, which has just had its technical alpha, hasn't it? So this is due next month. The technical alpha was available to people who signed up. I did sign up. I got a place, but I couldn't use it because it was
only over a weekend, wasn't it? Like 2 days over a weekend. I was like, that's just not going to work. No. But yes, there was some feedback from the technical alpha, wasn't there? But I think some of it is my SSD is going to breathe a sigh of relief. My internet connection is going to get caned.
Yes, it is.
So we had mentioned that, I think my Flight Sim 2000 installs probably around 500 gig now.
What? How's yours so big?
Well, I've downloaded all the freebie regional packs. I've got a number of add-ons. I've not got a huge amount of paid for add-ons. I've got some Orbex stuff for the UK, South and North, more detailed stuff. I've got a couple of airports, some planes. But yeah, last time I checked, I've got. I've just upgraded to a 2 terabyte drive because I was running out of space. But DCS was around 500 gig, and so was Flight Sim.
Yeah, maybe I just haven't looked at mine close enough. But you're right. The key thing is with Flight Sim 2020 was that it uses the internet side for the weather, doesn't it, and traffic and that kind of stuff.
And there was the option of streaming data in.
But most of it's installed, though.
Most of it is installed. But with the new 2024, it's chucked the way around, isn't it? They are saying that the initial size of a basic install is going to be around, 50 gig, wasn't it?
Yep.
That's across all tiers. If you're looking at minimum spec, recommended, or ideal, it says 50 gig storage, everything else will be streamed. So
brilliant. That's awesome. Great.
Brilliant.
No
Let's see.
SSD required. Ridiculous size.
The feedback from the was saying that people's internet bandwidth usage was spiking to 180 megabits a second, or around 81 gigabytes an hour of play. Obviously, that's it. That's 180 megabytes a second for the entire hour, which it won't be. They say users were reporting it does go as low as 10 megabits a second, but looking at the game specifications, they are saying, for minimum spec, I'm presuming lower quality textures. You need a minimum of 10 megasecond, recommended 50, and ideal spec, you need at least 100 megabytes a second internet connection. What about those poor people that got metered connections or capped?
That's what I was just going to say. Was they're okay. Granted, it's not this day and age. Not too many people are on capped.
It's still a thing in parts of America.
But a lot of people, are on legacy plans or older plans. So this could be a real issue, isn't it? And if you're granted it's a technical out, but they may still have some refinements they can make.
There'll be some optimization, yeah, definitely.
But if you are playing at, let's say, ultimately, you've got top end machine, you're playing at ultra high level, you're playing multiplayer, you kind of, let's look at it from a worst case scenario. Yeah. And the weather, there's a lot of weather patterns going on. Yeah, that's gonna absolutely cane your connection, isn't it?
I think it's not just the connection that's going to be caning. Looking at these specs, I've gone back to look at them again. I pulled them up for the thing. I was like, all right, so we think we've got pretty decent gaming machines. I think we'd be aiming...
Not compared to their specs.
No, I thought I'd be aiming for ideal, and I've just done an upgrade, right? But ideal spec is a whopper, right? Okay, so you need at least Windows 10. I don't know why they've put that. It's not got much life left in it, but DirectX 12 compatible OS, right? AMD need at least a Ryzen 7 7900X. Well, I've just bought 7800X 3D, which I would argue for gaming is a lot better than 7900X, but apparently my CPU is not going to cut it. Or you need an i7 14700K.
That's right, yep.
Yep. GPU wise, you need a 4080 RTX with 12 gigabyte VRAM, or a RX 7900 XT, again with 12 gig minimum VRAM on it. And you need a 64 gigabyte of system RAM.
I'm just laughing because it's going to absolutely spank your machine.
I think I'm going to be okay. I've got the 7800X 3D. I've got a 3090 with 24 gig RAM. It's not the 4 series, but it's the bigger, the top of the end 3 series. And I did just upgrade to 64 gig of RAM, so I think I'm probably okay. Yeah, I think you're going to be going recommended spec.
Yeah, I mean, recommended spec, as we say, is
but that's quite a jump down. So they've gone from a 4080 to a 2080 on the recommended.
They have i7. So the i7
10th gen i7 or second gen Ryzen 7.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
And then 32 gig of system RAM, 8 gig of VRAM, and as you say, storage of 50 gig and a 50 megabyte. 50 Mbps. Internet storage.
And I do question these specs, because even if you start to look at minimum recommended, it's even more bizarre. So we just said the recommended for CPU was a Ryzen 7 2700X, okay, or a 10th gen i7, okay. If we jump down to minimum spec, that Intel one's jumped down to a 6th gen i7, but the Ryzen's only jumped down to the same generation, but a 2600X rather than a 2700X.
Yeah, how can you take it seriously?
It's not apples to apples there, is it? It's just
no,
very made up, I think. But
yeah, I mean, there's got to be some logic in here, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just.
And interestingly, as you say, if you look at the bandwidth, it's the weirdest one. Like say, bottom end spec 10 megabits per second, 50 megabits per second, and then it's 100 megabits per second. So why is the machine that's got the most? I guess downloading higher textures.
Yeah, you're going in at 4K texture as well. So that minimum spec, you're only getting wireframe, I think. I don't think you get any textures.
No, it's like is it going to be like playing, the original Flight Sim? You remember the original Flight Sim? It is weird. I don't get it, but I mean, if it is going to be picking up as much bandwidth of that, some people are peer I mean, you and I obviously, are lucky. A lot of people now are on bigger connections, thankfully. But there are many people who live in areas where they've got maybe a 50 meg or less, or around 50 meg connection.
Yeah, if you're not on fiber to the premises or version, you've got fiber to the cabinet. You're not getting more than 80 meg, are you?
No, not really. No.
So you're not getting. You can't do the 100 meg for the ideal spec, even if you've got a kick-ass PC.
No, that's. It's a shame, really. And I'm also frustrated I didn't get a chance to test the technical
It's
alpha.
out what? No, mid-November. So we've got literally basically a month tomorrow. So it's not too long to wait on that one.
No, I reckon the preload will start as well in a couple of weeks.
It's not a huge preload, is there? Only 50 gig.
We will see. We will see. But yes, it is now available. Sorry, the information now available that it is going to be requiring quite a lot of bandwidth, but very little SSD install. So I guess where you need to put that saved money that you're going to pay for an SSD into your new internet connection.
Into your internet connection.
Yeah. So moving across then, Elon will not be happy about this. So the EU has decided that X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it, is not a gatekeeper under the specification set out by the DMA or the Digital Markets Act. And gatekeepers are defined as a platform or a service which has a certain annual turnover, provides core services in at least 3 of those states in the EU, and also has over 45 million active or monthly active users. And so obviously there we've got the key suspects. In that Apple, of course, Microsoft, who's Amazon,
Meta,
of course,
that kind of stuff. Randomly Booking.com.
Yeah, I saw that as well. That was weird.
I think they own a lot. They own like Hotels.com and lots of other ones, and Trivago and stuff like that, don't they?
They do, I think so. You're right. But X unfortunately doesn't meet the criteria, does it?
No. They are not an important gateway for business users to reach end users, apparently. So I'm in 2 minds about this one. One, I would like him to be a gatekeeper, just because I know he's going to fail horribly and get giant fines, and the EU does actually have some teeth on it, unlike a lot of other regulators. So it'd be nice to see him punished. But mind you, he was never actually going to turn up at court or whatever hearings. He was never going to pay the fines, isn't he? So we'd end up with Twitter or X being banned in Europe, I imagine.
It's just laughable, isn't it? It's absolutely laughable. But I guess so, given the fact that they don't classify as a gatekeeper, means for the moment, they're not having to toe the line, as you know, Apple and
they're not having to do some of the things, the requirements you had to do. Was it allow potential competitors equal access to the platform, not give preferential treatment to their own services? So he won't have to do that. I mean, he would have, with the price they put for the APIs and stuff, he would have been slightly annoyed at that, wouldn't he?
I think he would have done. And his threat, he probably had a threat to pull X from Europe and all those kind of open threats.
Do us all a favour. Go on.
Do you know what? I
allow someone else better.
Yeah, we're talking about this the other day with somebody else actually whilst I was away, and we just said about how I used to really like it, some great conversations, and I think we were saying this as well on the podcast. It just feels that I don't want to have to trawl through. A million adverts, or you see a good post, you read it, and then underneath that post is about a million, I hate to say this, adult related posts, isn't there, as well?
Definitely.
And they were supposed to stop all that. But it just hasn't.
There's no moderators. He got rid of everyone.
And as we said, yeah. But so Google and Meta are also currently under DMA probes, aren't they? They're the EU is looking into both of those around. We talked about Google in their the Play Store piece and potentially that, as well as the searching. And Meta's an interesting one. Meta is under about its about the pay for privacy, isn't it, or pay for consent model?
Oh yes, this is because you have to give them a choice, don't you? But the choice, one of the choices can't be pay.
Well, apparently, according to if you're Meta, it is.
Yeah, but, yes. That their answer was pay and we won't show ads, rather than giving an option not to have personalized ads, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, hang on a minute, that's not how this works.
No, but that's what Meta's done. I think they can get away with it, so I'm looking forward to being punished for that.
Yeah, but then I stopped and thought about it, right, when I was reading it. Have you noticed how many services now say free service or pay X number of dollars, pounds, pesos to remove ads?
All right, I think that is okay, but I think they have to have the option of, do I get just standard ads or do I get personalized ads? You can't have personalized ads and buy no ads.
Oh no, but what I guess I meant was the amount of services now that are going down that road of I'll pay, and we'll make the you'll have an ad-free service. And it's just like, God, you're just turning me off from this. What was a great service or a great app? It's like now
I can
I'm
kind of
having
see
to,
it.
yeah.
When I go leave the house and I go to a place that doesn't have Pi-hole filtering all the ads, and you go to a page you normally go to, and all of a sudden 50% of it is ads. Like, whoa! So I mean, if I was seeing that every day, then I might be inclined to actually pay to remove those ads. But obviously, we use Pi-hole, so we just don't see them anyway.
I spent the week on VPN.
Yeah, back to the
And
house and using
yeah,
Pi-hole to
yeah.
remove everything. Yep.
Because obviously being in the Middle East, some services don't work correctly.
No,
So
of
it's
course
also
not.
useful for where we are. And I have to say the battery's not too bad.
Yeah.
On
Tailscale.
so on Tailscale, it is not as bad as you would have expected. I have to say, I've been pretty impressed given how badly the battery was spanking on the iPhone 12. The 14 does well, and the optimizations that Tailscale does as well. So yeah, it did chew through the battery a little bit more than not, but it wasn't as bad as I'd expect. So I was quite impressed.
Yeah, good to hear.
So then, we'll go from X then. Let's talk about the new iPads then, because this is something that we expected to be released in an event, didn't we? So we kind of thought that maybe
along with a
Apple
lot
would
of other stuff, a lot of Mac, a more Mac-related event,
that we expected to come later this month. Now there's only 10 or so days, isn't there? Realistically,
no one's had any invites yet.
No invites yet. Okay, we're recording today on the 18th, so
Could still
there's
come
31
out.
days on October. There's still a little bit of time, but at the moment it seems unlikely. Now, I think I said before, didn't I, that there was probably going to be a press release for the iPad
Mini,
or one of them, and we've seen that. So the new iPad Mini Gen 7, is it?
Seventh Gen,
has released, yeah.
It has, and we did get an upgrade as expected. It's mainly so you can put Apple Intelligence on there, isn't it? They bumped it to an A17 Pro chip, the same chip from the 15 Pro, or not quite though. I mean, I've heard rumors saying this is actually a bin chip and it has one less GPU core than the 15 Pro. But much of a muchness. Unfortunately, the disappointment for me was that we've put a Pro chip in there, but we don't have a Pro Motion display. So we've still got that 60 hertz display. I think just put 120 hertz or 100 hertz display, that would have made it ideal. But look, you've got the 17 Pro, you're going to get Apple Intelligence features. It's now compatible with the Pencil Pro as well, not just the standard one. Was a slight price increase, wasn't it? I think it used to start at, I want to say, was it $450, somewhere around that, dollars? And it's now $499 for 128 gig of storage. It has got USB-C port like the previous one. It now supports USB 3 10 gig a second. It's got Wi-Fi 6E, so there's an upgrade on the Wi-Fi as well, but I think that's all come courtesy of the 17 Pro chip. And you've got some new colours, haven't you? You've got blue and purple appearing there.
Colours, my friend. We always want some colours.
When you say colours, they're not that vivid a colour. I was like, oh, nice blue or purple. I looked on the site, I was like, very pastel blue, and more lilac than purple, I would have said.
Yeah, it's not as what you'd expect, is it?
No, it's not. Look, I was at an event and I had to do some booth duty, some stand duty, and they provided not the new iPad Mini, obviously the previous gen, as a device to scan people's badges and take notes on.
The last gen one, you mean?
Yeah, it's the last gen one. It's the new design, a squared or chiseled bit with a USB-C.
Right, yeah.
You know what? I actually quite liked it.
Well, so one of the guys that again we're with the event, the local team, they had one in a case with the older style pencil in it. And I have to say, you're right. It's a tidy little device, to carry around.
Yeah, I can hold it in my hand, and my hand wouldn't get tired. If I was holding an iPad Pro in there, it'd get a bit tired after a while. It was nice and light. It was a bigger display than the phone, obviously not as big as a huge, 11 or 13-inch iPad, but I could see myself sitting on the sofa at night time and reading the news and catching up on it, or browsing the web on it without having to get a giant iPad or a laptop out.
That's why, though, I told you, that's why I went for the iPad Pro 11-inch.
I'm still sitting there thinking, if I'm getting the 11-inch iPad out, I'm just going to get the laptop out.
Well,
I have an 11-inch, 10.9 or 10.8-inch iPad. it just doesn't get used.
Yeah, I have to say the
I end up if I'm going to get that bigger screen out, I end up wanting to do more than just
no, I
browsing.
have to say,
So I need a
don't have that
keyboard,
problem.
and if you've only got the keypad on
Look,
iPad Pro, it's basically a laptop anyway.
I have to say to you though, on a real tangent, I think I mentioned I got the Kindle Scribe, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
I have used it properly this week, and I have to say, as a notepad, taking notes on it it's a much better feeling than the iPad for writing on, because you've got that resistance with the ink.
Yes.
But the lack of distraction. So just having it in front of me and being tempted to go, I'll just flick into my email, or I'll just flick into something else.
A bit more of a focus device.
I have to say that is absolutely a godsend. Absolutely
but
godsend.
There was the law of sod, isn't it? You bought it, was it last week or the week before, and the new one came out this week. Surprise.
We won't talk about that.
You're not tempted to return it and pay a little extra and get the new one.
No, because I had a look at the spec of the new one, and it looks nicer because they've reduced the current. It's got a large bezel on the left hand side, the kind of way you hold it, or the right hand side. Obviously, if you're
switch
other way handed.
Yep.
They've made them the same size now. They've also made it white. The pencil's got a bit of resistance, and I think they've increased the story, but the price has gone up. So I now I realise why mine was cheap.
We've worked in tech so long, we should have picked that one up. Really,
I should have. Absolutely, I should have worked that one out. But do you know what? I'm not complaining, because for what it does, actually,
it's pretty good. Yeah,
I'm keeping it.
You're keeping it. I know you were in two minds. You got it and like, oh, I don't know, buyer's remorse.
But after using it for a week and also using it as a Kindle, I'm keeping it.
Well, good.
So yeah,
I'll be interested to see that actually when we next meet.
Yeah, it's a good device. But to get back on the tangent of where we were, off the tangent. I personally, I read through the specs myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Apple is absolutely convinced or committed to this device.
No, I don't know.
I think this is a standard. We needed to give it a spec bump so it can support Apple Intelligence. That is the only reason. I think this device has been upgraded.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it would have got more RAM because it's now got. I think it would have got 8 gig of RAM as opposed to 6 on the previous chip in there.
Well, but you said good to the point though. Yeah, will it? Yes, it will support Apple Intelligence, won't it? Sorry,
because
yes,
the 15s did. 15s and the 16s got it. Yeah,
sorry. I just had one of those mind blips where my mind went, "Hang on a minute, no, it will do." But I think that I have to say, I'll say it again. I think that's the only reason this device has an upgrade is so that it supports Apple Intelligence. Based on what we said before, that the whole lineup will be the bottom, the line in the stand, if you will be Apple Intelligence.
Exactly. So. What are we left to do that needs Apple Intelligence? The OG iPad, the bottom one. I don't know if it will get it or not.
I don't think that will. I think that may not, because that'll be the budget entry level. You want to buy Apple, but
it's a cheap one for education.
Yeah, it's a cheap
but
one,
Apple Intelligence, you need to pony up. But the other big glaring thing we're missing is the HomePods, which is the natural place for Apple Intelligence, is it not?
Unless they're going to kill out HomePods off, which I don't think they will do.
No, I'm expecting some upgrades.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, because you're right. That's the natural place, and personally, for me, that's the one thing I want Apple Intelligence on.
Because I've not actually played with Apple Intelligence yet, and if this actually, turbocharges her that shall be not named, and actually makes her usable, that I can do multiple things, like interact with home automation, set timers, all the stuff I normally do and more. I would ditch all the Amazon stuff and go straight to that instantly. I'll go out and buy 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. But mind you, I suspect if they put a bigger chip, like an A17 Pro or whatever they need to give it Apple Intelligence, that's not going to stay at 99 or whatever they are now, is it? That's going to be 150. No.
They're going up, massively going up.
Because I would quite happily get rid of the Amazon ones, and I'd appreciate the Apple ones if she was just competent.
And even in the car, I was trying to get it to play something yesterday, and
I just about get it to call someone and send a message. That's about as
far
as it goes.
Do you know what? it's relegated to, hey, you Sean mentioned, send message to person, blah blah
That's
blah.
it. Read notifications. Call someone.
Yeah,
That's as
yeah.
far as it goes. I'd like it to do so much more. I think Apple Intelligence will give it that ability. Fingers crossed. So then I have to start looking to replace him. But I don't know how many have we got in the house. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 8 or 9 of these floating around the house.
To take a quick step back to the iPad, somebody you and I both know and work with has bought one.
What, the
brand new one?
The new Mini 7?
Yeah, they ordered it when it came out the other day.
I was very, very tempted. I would have bought it if they'd upgraded the screen to a ProMotion. I would have bought one by now. I might have regretted it, but I wouldn't have hesitated. Now I'm sitting there going, you know what? I can see myself actually using that one, but I really like ProMotion.
You know what?
I don't need huge storage. I'll go for the 128 gig. Starts at $499. I don't need cellular. I might get the pen, but I can always buy that later.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's a place for them. I do think there's a place for them, but I just think its existence now is you know they'll have to keep in the lineup because they need that smaller that smaller form factor.
I wonder what percentage of those sales are point of sale stuff.
Well, that's it massively. Look, I mean, I went to a restaurant this week on Wednesday night. They were using standard iPads, you know, the classic iPad.
Yeah.
To
take orders and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. How long before? Yeah, most of those are swapped out for minis in good time.
We'll see. We'll let you know if I cave and buy one. I'm going to wait for the reviews to come out because I know the original ones had some weird jelly screen kind of issues. I want to know if they've actually fixed that. So we'll see.
But the question we have then is, where are the M4 Max?
Well, is this going to be an event, or is it just going to? If they're only upgrading and slapping an M4 in it, I can't see this being an event. This is just a paper launch, unless there's some magical new stuff in there.
But is the additional Thunderbolt port enough to justify an event?
No, probably not. No, I can't. I can't see.
I don't think it is. I think you're right. I think we could end up with PR here. You know, press release. I mean, so you know, just for because it just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem that they have got enough. You know, because if it was if the event there also, like you say, had HomePods on it or something like that.
Or a new design chassis or something like that. But I don't think we're getting any of that.
But if the chassis is just going to include an extra port and it's an M4 chip, there's nothing else that really could have changed, is there, on the device itself?
No, I don't think so.
So it could be that
unless they're going to bring something like the tandem OLED to the Max.
I don't know. I think all of the other reports on that are showing that that's not going to happen. Not this year. Because what's the guy's name? You know, the display consortium guy. You know who the leaker.
I know who you mean.
You know the guy. You know he was saying
him.
He was saying it was 2025 at the earliest, wasn't he?
Yep. Well, we'll see. But like I said, maybe it'll just be a press release.
Maybe so. So
yeah,
Qualcomm.
Talking of launches, this one didn't go so well. Apparently, Qualcomm they've cancelled the Snapdragon X Elite Developer Kit, which was what, a $900 basically Mac Mini kind of thing, but based on Snapdragon X Elite. Like Apple was only be shipping to the developers, wasn't it? So they could code the new ARM for Windows apps and stuff. So this was announced at Microsoft Build 2024. It was meant to launch in June 2024. It was delayed a bit. Pre-orders finally opened a month later in July. And only a few days ago did units actually start to ship. So we're like 6-8 months late with this now, really, aren't we? But Qualcomm have now cancelled it. They sent out an email basically saying, it has not met our usual standards of excellence. And basically, they're going to fully refund everyone that ordered it. Those that received the kit can keep it and will still get a refund. All outstanding orders will be cancelled. Apparently, they cited there were delays in shipping. They had to remove a HDMI port for some reason last minute. It failed to pass the FCC regulations before shipping. So those that have received the unit apparently have also got a nice little label saying not FCC certified, it cannot be resold. Though I'm sure we'll see them on eBay shortly. Yeah, bit of a PR disaster for Qualcomm there.
It was a bit, wasn't it? And quite a nice looking device, to be fair. Actually, I quite like the look of it.
Yeah, I mean, they were quite like. I mean, Microsoft did one, didn't they, a couple of years back.
Yeah, they did.
The year before, they had their Windows Dev Kit. It was using a lot older Snapdragon X Gen 3
for the Windows ARM release.
Yes, for the initial Windows ARM release. You're right. I'm wondering if the rumor might be that they might be bringing a new version out instead to fix Qualcomm's mess.
Maybe. I mean, fair play to Qualcomm. They've taken on the chin. They've come out and said it doesn't fit. We're not going to sell you something that isn't right. But frustrating nonetheless, though, for those that had ordered, really, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, I'd still like to get my hands on an ARM-based Windows little desktop PC. I don't need a laptop, really, but, one I could use for work based on ARM. Quite happy to have a play with it.
Yeah. So, that X, wasn't it? Well, that was the X Elite stock, wasn't it? That was meant to be in
it was the top of the range, wasn't it?
Yeah.
4.5 gigahertz boost. So, currently there's no machines out there with the top of the range Elite stock. I wonder if we'll see some benchmarks come out.
Possibly. Might. Yeah, I guess somebody. It's going to leak somewhere. There'll be somebody with it.
I'll be searching eBay in a minute.
Yeah, Well, a bit like that M4 Mac, wasn't it? That launched that was on eBay,
wasn't it? Russian version of eBay. Yeah.
Yeah. Turns out. Turns out that I think that was a genuine device.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Actually, before we pop into the rumor mill, I know it wasn't on the script for this week, but one thing we should have mentioned was obviously the SpaceX's Starship flight test, which happened last weekend. I couldn't help but having to bring that up. That was amazing. Did you caught the recording of that?
Oh yeah, I went back and watched it.
So if anybody hasn't watched that, thinking what the guy's on about. So SpaceX had their number five flight test of the Starship and its booster. So this was Starship ship number 30 and super heavy booster number 12. So it was launched last weekend, but this wasn't the thing about launching it. The key here was they were going to separate the Starship from the booster.
Yep.
The Starship was going to go off and do a little bit of flight. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then they landed the booster. Now, SpaceX, you're saying SpaceX landing boosters,
they do it all the time.
They do it on land. They do it on water. No,
they didn't quite land it, did they? They caught it.
They caught the booster back down on the launch tower.
The original launch tower, yeah.
Which was called Mechazilla. And then they closed these arms around it. And the way they did it was...
They were like giant chopsticks, weren't they?
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. On the side of the booster, there were two kind of like, I want to say, sort of pegs that were on the side of it, which were each rated for 100 tons each. And basically those caught on the arms, and then they pulled in to grab it. Absolutely unbelievable. Every element of that flight time was a success.
I was worried when it was getting to those last couple of seconds. It just looked like it was going to go through the tower, not land.
Well,
it looked a bit dicey.
When that rocket came back in, didn't it? Yeah. And it was coming back through the atmosphere. It was like, that is going super, super quick.
It was like 5,000 miles an hour. I can't remember what it was. It was like ridiculous, wasn't it?
And then they launched. I think they relit. Wasn't it? I want to say 13 maybe of the booster. The rockets.
Yeah, not the full amount. Yeah.
Because there was 33 or something. They relit 13 to slow it down. I mean, that was impressive as well because it slowed, and you could see the pressure waves around it as it came in. And then it looked like I thought it was going to catch fire because the way the flames
were coming out quite fast.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is going to go boom, boom in a minute. And it didn't. It just dropped in. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I can't get over how amazing it was. I was trying to explain to my kids about this, and they were just like, "Wow, Dad, that looks cool." I was like, "No, you don't understand.
It's not just cool; it's amazing.
This is going to take us to Mars." And and one thing we haven't talked about was the actual Starship itself. The what will be the manned element of it. Got into control flight. Reached an apogee of 132 miles before a controlled landing in the Indian Ocean. Apparently, it landed, according to SpaceX, I quote, with high accuracy on the water near a prepositioned buoy that captured footage of it. I mean, it's just bonkers. But this is the bit that gets me, though. They never intended to recover it, and it blew up 16 seconds after it hit the water. So we won't talk about that. We'll just talk about the booster.
Well, yeah, it was a success.
But this is unbelievable. The fact that they can recover these super boosters now to reuse them is just phenomenal. I just, you know what, if you go back, 10, 15 years, this was science fiction, isn't it?
It was, yeah.
But to see that happen was something, and I think perhaps the significance of that test hasn't really sunk in. I don't think will for some time, of actually how far this is taking us forward in terms of manned spaceflight. Or is that the right human spaceflight? Sorry,
yeah, it's just the amount of stuff it will be able to carry and getting that up and back down again is going to make a huge difference.
For all of Elon Musk's other rubbish, and SpaceX for me is the one thing which I think actually will be his legacy. And I know it's not him that created the company, but he has driven forward its kind of, I guess, position, isn't he? Along with those that work there, we should never forget that, of course, that the people that do the actual hard work in all of this. But SpaceX, I think, fast forward 50 years, if they're still around, I think SpaceX could be the kind of company that people talk about Lockheed, or they talk about other companies in the same vein, in terms of space flight and all that kind of stuff. And it's just unbelievable. And the next part will obviously be that they can is recovering the Starship itself, isn't it? That's going to be the next mission.
Exactly.
Because that's supposed to land vertically as well, isn't it?
Oh, well, small steps.
We'll get there. But yeah, I just wanted to mention. I scribbled it on my notes, and I wanted to mention it anyway.
No, it was an incredible launch.
So that probably brings us right up to, and our good friend and well-known leaker, I say that with a pinch of salt, Mr. Mark Gurman. In his latest Power On newsletter, then, he has dropped a little bit of a bombshell that he reckons Apple are developing or going to release the lower-end Apple Vision, which will be around, wait for it, it's going to be cheap. You ready for this? Sat down, yeah?
Yeah, this is the cheap one, yeah.
About $2,000 US.
Bargain. I'll take 4. Yeah, not really cheap, is it? So he is saying they're looking to ship early. He's potentially early next year. He's saying, because I thought this was going to be canned. We'd heard rumors of, but apparently it's back on. Going to be so an inferior processor compared to the full-on Vision Pro, which currently I think has an M2, doesn't it? The current Vision Pro. He's saying it's likely to get an A series chip, probably the A18 Pro, which is comparable to M1 in performance. It will be using cheaper materials, some more plastic instead of aluminium and glass. It's going to drop the very, very creepy eyesight feature, which is obviously on the present Vision Pro. And they reckon it will sell twice as many as the Apple Vision Pro, which still isn't a huge amount.
The eyesight thing, I can't. To be honest with you, dropping that is not going to be an issue.
No one's going to lose sleep over
most users. I don't think that's going to really be a deal breaker. $1,500 reduction in price.
It's considerable, but it's still an expensive headset. No one would say 2,000 was a cheap headset.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, reduction in materials from high end. Again, that's not unsurprising, is it? I think it was Apple want to do that. They want to make this more mainstream, and I think again the whole the whole top end, the Vision Pro was a high end premium device, wasn't it? But, if we look at Meta, they do something similar. The lower end devices are not as high end materials. They have not set the feature we talked about in our roundup the other week, didn't we?
Yep.
So again, I think putting in an A chip makes sense. If they put in an A18 or whatever, it is practically an M chip, isn't it? For all but the fighting, So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I would imagine just the time it's taken to get there is the bit that I think probably surprises me more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's taken a while. So when did the Vision Pro come out? Was that last year?
Yes, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's got to be about, if it's coming out early next year, it's going to be a good year and a half between sets, which isn't, unheard of. It's a fair amount of time. It's just, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah, and given with these devices, actually, a lot of the problem is shrinking down the tech, isn't it? It's about reducing, those component pieces into a smaller, design. So yeah, look, I still really do want one. I really do. I want to. I must go into the Apple Store and try one. I have to say, because I've got a few in the local one. But yeah, it was never going to look. This is Apple. It was never going to be cheap, was it?
No. I thought we might have seen one down at 1,000 mark or 1,500.
Well, they could surprise us. Not.
Could they? Yeah. Give us the SE version.
We'll see. Well, that's probably a good place for us to round up for today. Of course, you can find us on all of the places you get your podcasts from. So Spotify, X, we're on X still. YouTube. Do tell your friends. Give us a like. Give us a subscription. Hello to, if you got to this far on the end of the podcast, thank you very much. Hello to a couple of new subscribers who I saw add the podcast onto their devices this week.
So who are you wandering around the show pressurizing people?
Yeah, scan the QR code. Scan it, yeah. I should have done that. Maybe that's where we're going wrong. Anyway, we'll be back next week for episode 186 with all of the latest tech news and roundup. So yeah, thank you very much. I've been Jay.
I've been Karl. Have a good one all.